the hunky guy everyone's wary of at the gym, is actually my sugar baby. I have never been one to be nervous when faced with anyone. No matter how they looked or how much power they had, I have always managed to maintain a calm demeanor. Now I was desperately trying to keep my leg from shaking and my voice from betraying me now that I was facing him. His size in itself was a reason to be threatened. He was both tall and buff and had a serious expression on his face. I wondered what was going on in that head. "Why are you here?" Kai asked. I tried to speak, but I could not. I did not know how to use this. The room was silent. The only audible thing was my heartbeat. I was not sure if I was ready for what was about to happen between us, but I had come here of my own accord. I had paid for this, so I had to see it through. "I came here because I am ready to take the next step," I said. I could hear the chitter-chatter of other people around us, and tried my best to keep my focus on the one beautiful thing I'd finally gained in my life. "Kai." He nodded. I had been second-guessing myself all day, but now I realized that it had to happen. We were in this room together. It was inevitable. I could not keep away from him, and that was why I was here. How had I ended up here, one would wonder. Boredom had brought me here. It all started a year ago on that fateful night. One night, last year, I could not sleep. I tried, but it did not work out. I pulled up those ages-old sheep counting, and it still did not work. Maybe I was getting old, but I was stuck in a limbo. Too many thoughts were racing through my head, and I felt like I was going to explode. I wanted to be with someone but alone at the same time. Every time that I rolled over to the other side of the bed and felt how empty it was, I sighed. I chided myself. "It is your own fault, Henry. You let Greg leave." "Shut up!" I suddenly screamed and sat up. Feeling hot, I decided to get myself some water. Greg had been my last attempted relationship. It did not work out. I had a hard time committing, and in the end, he left. I did not even try to fight him. His absence did not even affect me, except when my loneliness crept in. I wondered why I felt like that when I had everything a person would want. I had good friends, more money than I could spend, and an abundance of time on my hands. I had started investing in some stocks and crypto in my 20s, before everything blew up. When I cashed out, I was rolling in more money than I had ever seen before. 10 years later, I had gotten bored of the money and lived a pretty normal life. I did some work just to keep myself busy, but I did not need the money. What I needed was something to do because I was dying from boredom. Every day felt the same. There was nothing in the world that I had not experienced. I felt quite empty and lethargic most times because there was nothing interesting. Maybe I could do what Jerry and the others told me to do. After all, when I got bored, I made sure to find creative ways to cure the boredom. Every once in a while, I fell down a rabbit hole in a new experience. I then milked it for all that it was worth till I got bored. That was how I ended up signing up for the website where I could meet a sugar baby. My friends had suggested it to me, saying that I could get good company, with no need for an emotional attachment, and all I had to do was buy gifts. I turned it over in my head and realized that I did not mind spending my money on someone as long as we had a good conversation. So, then I signed up for the website. It was about 1 a.m. in the morning, dark and quiet like I preferred it. Once I set up my profile, I started to look at the options. There were many young, attractive men with interesting bios. Most of them had the same look, pretty and clean. It was all boring, and I started to mentally doze off as I swiped. And then I saw a profile that caught my eye. He was unlike the other profiles I had seen before. His face was good-looking, but that was not what caught my eye. He was buff and a little rough-looking, in contrast to the other guys I had seen so far. I did not know much about the sugar lifestyle, but from what I gathered, many of them preferred to look cute and even pretty. I swiped right on him and sent him a quick message introducing myself and expressing an interest in getting to know him. I saw that he did not live that far from me. Maybe this would turn into something beautiful. I was not really looking for physical intimacy. I just wanted to explore this new dynamic that my friends told me about. I switched off my laptop right after messaging him. I decided to take a sleeping pill even though I had been trying to wean myself off them. You can't win every day, I said to myself, and then I drifted off to sleep. When I woke up, I had a message from a couple of guys. The one that made me more excited was the one from Kai, the guy who caught my eye. Kai had messaged me back with some information about himself. I opened the message very quickly. He had informed me that he was in his final year of college. His interest lied in sport or gaming, and that he was just as new to this particular website as I was. The last bit of information calmed down my nervousness. I understood that I was doing well enough. His newest message read, "I would love to hear about your traveling stories. If I could, I would love to travel a lot too." I greeted him back and expressed my pleasure at finally getting to talk to him. I asked if he wanted to meet. He replied that he would love to meet me. And it wasn't until his message, "Honestly, I am a little suspicious that a young handsome man like yourself is here. Are you real? Or am I being catfished on a sugar daddy website of all places?" that I finally blushed and realized the attraction was on both the side. I got up and started to get ready for my meeting, but I occasionally checked my phone. When I came out of the shower, I saw that he had texted me again saying, the message was flattering and read, "You have to share your skincare routine with me. You look good for your late 20s. I laughed at his assumption that I was still in my 20s, but corrected him by telling him that I was really 32. We exchanged a few more texts as I got ready for work, but I promised to text him soon. I was feeling pretty good about myself that morning, and everyone noticed. One could never have guessed that I did not get much sleep. That was our very first conversation of many. I enjoyed the conversation because it was light and fun. It was so different from conversations I usually had with guys I was interested in. Sometimes I felt like just a body and not a person to them. And the few times that I have been treated like I can mean something to someone, it ended with my heart in a million pieces. Kai and I talked throughout the day. We discussed our daily lives and our family, among other things. We also joked around a little bit. I discovered that he had a dry sense of humor, just like myself, pretty early on. We did not waste time and decided to exchange other social media. The app we were using sometimes delayed messages. My friend Jerry also suggested that I try to FaceTime Kai as soon as possible, just to make sure that he was real. He told me that sometimes people catfish just to get free money out of it. Jerry was my guide through all of this. I did not know how to define this relationship or go about it, but at least he had experience. So, we exchanged numbers and FaceTime for the first time that day. "Hey, you," I said as soon as Kai's face popped up on the screen. "Hi, you are real and not too good to be true." He smiled. Here I was thinking the same about you. How bizarre. I laughed. "How was your day?" he asked me. My day was boring. After the meeting, I did some reading up, and then I had lunch with my friends. I also found out that I have a meeting out of the country. I sighed. That should be exciting. I spent the day bored out of my mind. I did some studying now I am at home and thinking of playing a game, he said. "Which gaming system are you on?" I asked. "Well, let me show you," he said, and then he rotated his camera. After that, we talked about games a little bit. I wanted to ask him something, but I was too shy to. I did not know how to bring it up. Obviously, we were on the site for a reason. "So how much?" I asked him. He frowned. "What do you mean?" he asked. I felt so dumb, and I felt myself turning red. "I like you from the few conversations that we have had. I wanted to know how we do the whole thing of me paying you for your time," I asked. "Oh, even I am not sure, and I did not know how to ask." His cheeks turned a slight shade of pink. "Jerry told me that there can be a monthly allowance, and then also paying for meetings," I said. "I would like for us to get to know each other a bit more before we meet," he said. "Yes, I agree. I honestly do not need much, just your company. Someone I can talk to after a long day, maybe watch movies together if you are into that sort of thing," I said. "Can I ask something? Before I answer you about the money thing?" Kai asked me. I nodded for him to continue. "You are the full package, good-looking, smart, funny, and obviously well off. Why look for anything on here?" he asked. "Let me be really vulnerable with you right now. I am drowning in loneliness. I do not have the energy to even approach someone and try to start something. At least this is easier. It is transactional. You help me feel less lonely, and I will do anything for you, I told him. His eyes widened. Thank you for being honest with me. To be honest, I am doing this because I need the money. You know what it can be like being a broke student. He chuckled, trying to make light of the situation. Well then, it seems like we both have a lot to gain here. Now, how would you feel about an allowance? I asked. Sure, I would not mind that at all, he said. Okay, I am going to give you an allowance at the end of the month, but is it okay for me to send you gifts? I asked. Before he could answer, I added, I love shopping and buying gifts. The least you can do is just send me pictures opening them, I said. His eyes widened as if in disbelief. Okay, but I cannot send you my address, he said. Then make a wish list and share the link with me. I do not have to know where you stay yet, I said to him. And that was how our transactional relationship started. I asked Jerry if it was normal for things to develop that fast. He laughed and said he was surprised that we only discussed money that late in the conversation. Some people did it within the first few messages. I said that he looked like the most interesting person on the site, and I was happy with him for now. The next day, he sent me a wish list. I talked to him as I packed for my trip. He told me more about what he was studying. He actually wanted to be a nurse. His mother used to be a nurse, and he really admired her for it. He also said that he wanted to be able to take care of his loved ones. He said his grades were not good enough for being a doctor, but at least he could be in healthcare. I took a flight out of the country soon after, and we continued talking. Our conversations consisted of light banter, jokes, and sometimes serious talks. Even though he claimed he was not that smart, he actually was. He displayed a maturity and responsibility that I lacked at his age. On his wish list, he put things he needed for his studies. I bought it all off. He called me as soon as he got the package, and he was freaking out. You did not have to buy everything, but thank you so much, he basically screamed. Anything for you, you have made my week one of the best in a while, I shared with him. So what are you going to do this weekend? I asked him. Honestly, just studying, he said. You have been studying hard. I love how focused you have been this week. You nailed that test on Wednesday. Are you sure you do not want to take a day off to relax? I asked. And do what, though? He asked me. Something with friends, maybe, I asked. I am maybe lonelier than you are when it comes to friends, he sighed. Well, you can talk to boring me all weekend. I will not text much because I have some work to do. Looks like I am going to be here till the end of the month, I said. Oh, that sucks, but please take lots of pictures while you are there, he said. I will. Tomorrow we are going to a local art museum, I said, and also ask someone to take pics of you. I am asking for very selfish reasons, he said, and I felt a slight flatter. Why? What do you mean selfish reasons? I tried to remain calm. He chuckled and gosh, it sounded like it came from deep in his belly. Just that your eyes look beautiful in the sun? I have to go now, he hurriedly said, and then hung up. I sighed and thought I really needed to study his cute habit of running away so quickly. And then? What is up with the smile? I have not seen you smile like that in ages. Pete, one of my friends and business associates, said. Were you listening in? I asked him. Your voice was so loud, I could not help it, Pete explained as he laughed. What do you think would be a good souvenir? I changed the topic. You think those are corny? Why do you want one now? He asked. It is not for me, I confessed. Spill now. He took a seat next to me and forced me to start speaking. A month later, I was back in town less than a month after I left. While I was gone, I communicated with Kai on a regular basis. We never ran out of things to talk about. When we did, we had comfortable silences until something happened in the other person's life. I had never felt so light before. I decided that pretty soon, he was someone that I wanted to keep in my life, even if it was just as a friend. While we did flirt, there was nothing romantic going on. As soon as I was settled at home, I texted him to find out if he would be interested in meeting soon. I waited for a bit, then he responded with, I would love to. Can we meet in 2 weeks' time? He said he was going through his exams right now, and on top of all, dealing with a family crisis. Worried as I was for him, I couldn't help but reply quickly, "Thank you for letting me know. I will be out of your hair now. Study well." Just when I got used to the silence and laid down on my bed, I received another message from him. This one was a little more heartwarming than most of the messages we'd shared today. I like when we talk. It helps me better deal with my boring studies. I couldn't help but laugh. He never failed to make me laugh and lift my mood. Before finally calling it off, I told him that he need not hesitate from asking for anything from me. I then went back to what I was doing, unable to stop smiling. I was glad that he did not mind my company at all. I thought I might have been too boring for him. 1.5 weeks later, I jolted awake at the sound of my emergency phone ringing. Very few people had that number and permission to call it. I had given it to Kai recently. He had been experiencing exam stress, so I told him to call if he needed anything. I had been doing anything I could to help him, including purchasing premium extra lessons for him so that he could get all the help he needed. I checked the phone and saw that it was Kai. He never called this late at night no matter what. I answered, but he was incoherent. "She's gone. Hospital. Not breathing." He was speaking so fast and there was commotion everywhere. "Kai, calm down, I cannot hear you. Please text me what happened," I said. He said, "Okay," and then he hung up. I went and checked my phone, which showed that he had been trying to contact me for about an hour. I read the most recent message. My sister was declared dead upon arrival at the hospital. I asked him to send me the location. I would want someone to be with me in such a moment, so my first thought was to go with him. It did not matter that it was 4 in the morning. He sent me his location, and I quickly got dressed and scurried out of the apartment. On my way there, I slowly came back to Earth. I went as fast as possible. I texted Kai as soon as I arrived, and he came to fetch me from the front. When I saw him, I was taken aback. He was very tall and muscular. Now I understood why he told me that everyone at the gym was scared of him. Despite his size, he crumpled into my arms as soon as he saw me. I held on to him, my heart bleeding for him. "Come on, let us get in," I said after a while. I held his hand, and he squeezed it. "Thank you for coming. I had no one else," he confessed. 1 month later, I communicated less with him over the next few weeks as he arranged his sister's funeral. Luckily, he was done with exams, so that did not interfere with his schoolwork. I sent him money whenever I thought of him and offered to help him with anything he needed. After a while, he told me that I did not always need to and that my presence was enough. Since he was not always online, I felt that was the best way for me to show him that I was thinking about him. This rigor did pass, and eventually, he had more time to meet with me in person. I took him for long walks in the park, shopping, and dinner whenever he was free. I was just happy to have his company, although I was unsure about the feelings that were developing. My friends had noticed that I cared a lot about him. They suggested that I was falling for him. "You cannot go an hour without mentioning Kai. You have never spoken about any of your exes like this before," Jerry told me one day. "We are close and have a mutually beneficial relationship." "There is nothing more there," I said. "Have you two ever kissed?" he asked. "No, we have not," I said. He looked at me like I had 2 heads. "Usually you test physical compatibility, and then after a while you get bored," he reminded me. He was right. After I got what I wanted, I got very bored with a person. Maybe I did not want my pattern to continue with Kai. "I do not want to talk about this," I sighed. Right then, my phone pinged. I checked the notification and saw that it was Kai. It read, "Hey, up for a gaming session tonight? My grandma has her book club ladies over, and I am bored." I responded that he should count me in. He then asked me if I wanted a repeat of last time. It brought a chuckle out of me because last time he had beat me at most of the games. I smiled as I put away my phone. "Oh, you are so gone," Jerry chuckled. I feigned throwing a pillow at him. "Kai is coming over. I have to start driving home," I told him. He then started to make remarks about me being in love and laughing at me. "I finally got you back for how you teased me when I started dating Stella," he said, as I slammed his door shut. Later that evening, "You cheated," I exclaimed as I lost to him once again. You are just not fast enough. He caught my eye and smirked. I am tired now. Let me rest for a while. Old age is getting to me, I laughed. I threw myself onto the bed and sighed. He chuckled and suddenly tackled me. You know I am ticklish, don't do that, I said. But I know you like it, he said with a mischievous look on his face. It was not uncommon for us to cuddle when he slept over. Nothing other than that happened, but sometimes I wanted a little bit more. You are so damn insufferable. You are so lucky that you are cute, I teased. I started to caress his muscular forearm. He suddenly let out a little cute laugh when I reached the inside of his arm. I did it again, and he giggled again. Careful, his voice got lower, more sensual. Or what? I asked. Suddenly I was screaming because he flipped me over, so I was on top of him. It was so surprising and had my heart racing even more. Or, I will show you what happens when you make me giggle, he chuckled. Oh, but your giggle is so cute. I wonder where else you are ticklish, I laughed. I will never tell you. He laughed as he said this. Suddenly, I had a bright idea which I decided to execute before even thinking it through. I leaned down and placed a light kiss on his cheek. I heard him gasp lightly. Then I pressed some more light kisses on his cheeks, and he burst out laughing. Your lips are too soft. You are dangerous, he suddenly said. Oh, really? What are you going to do about it? I asked. He gently laid me by his side so that we were looking into each other's eyes. I will get you back for that. He leaned in closer to my cheek. I expected a light peck, but he kissed me very close to my mouth. Within me, a fire had already been stirring. He just ignited it even more. I moved my mouth till it touched his, and I kissed him. It felt natural and sweet, but it was over too soon. I had to have more. I think we lay in bed for hours and just kissed each other. Softly, passionately, sweetly, you name it. After a while, we had to get up because our stomach was growling with hunger. An hour later, gosh, this food is so good, I sighed as I closed my eyes. It is. I need to talk to you about something, he suddenly announced as his smile faded. Anything, I shared. I have started to work as a trainer at the gym, he said. But what about school? I asked. I am managing. To be honest, I really do need the money, he confessed. Okay, just tell me how much you need, I said. The truth is that I am the sole provider for my family. My sister left a newborn baby and I also have my grandma to care for, he confessed. I have a lot of baggage and I do not know how it is going to affect this dynamic of ours now that we have crossed a line, he told me. Thank you for being honest. I think we need to figure it out. I am not sure as well. I am not good at relationships if that is what you want, I said. Okay, we can be platonic, he said as he looked down. But I would like it if we kept this up. I do not mind cuddling and kissing. I looked down, not sure how he would take it. Well, that is more than I deserve. I understand. I come with baggage, he said. Do not ever say that about yourself, I scolded him. Several months later, Hi, I am looking for Kai. He is a trainer at this gym, I said to the receptionist at the gym. It was my first time going to his gym. I was in the area and wanted to surprise him. I had not seen him for a while. I had gotten a bit freaked out over how fast things were moving, so we slowed down our meetups. I still sent him gifts. Sometimes he accepted them, and sometimes he returned them. The few times he requested things, he would want things for a baby. I figured he wanted them for his sister's baby. I tried to stay away from him and just support him since I cared about him, but it was hard. The more I stayed away from him, the more I realized how much I wanted to be a part of his life. Now I had come to ask him something important, and I was nervous. Sure, you can go in. He is easy to spot, the receptionist said. I entered the gym where most people were busy. Kai had not been lying about people fearing him at the gym. Most of the people who I asked about him asked if I was sure. They said that only the most serious people trained with him. He was brutal and feared, which did not sound like my Kai. When he saw me, he was a bit surprised, but asked that we go to one of the offices. And that is how I ended up here, almost a year after meeting him. I was nervous about what I wanted to say, because I also did not know. I just knew that I wanted him to be part of my life in some way. "Why are you here?" he asked me. "I am here because I am ready to take the next step," I said. It had all led me here, in front of him, wanting to ask him to be vulnerable with me like never before. "What is this next step?" he asked me. "Can I meet your family?" I asked. "Why? You said that you do not want to complicate things. Why would you want to get involved in my complicated life?" he asked. "I have done a lot of thinking over the past couple of months. Sure, I am scared to hell of committing, but I also know that I care about you. To me, you are more than a sugar baby," I said. He was silent for a while, and just stared at me emotionlessly. "I am glad I am more than that, because you are so much more to me too. I like you. It is not just about the money. Unfortunately, I had to do this so I could feed my family." His voice was soft when he said this. After pausing for a while, he smiled and continued to say, "I would love it if you met my family. I understand. Money is not an issue for me. Thanks for agreeing to let me meet your family. But first, a session?" I asked. "You won't be able to handle how intense it can get, but I can ask someone to train you," he laughed. "Fair enough," I laughed. "I would not want to injure the guy that I like," he smiled. He stood up from where he had been sitting. I got up and went to give him a light peck. My heart warmed. "We can take this as slowly as you want, okay?" he said. "Thank you," I leaned into him. 2 months later, "Please call us if you need anything. We are not going to be gone for long," I said to the babysitter. I had gotten Kai's grandma tickets for a show, whereas me and Kai planned to go on our first date as a couple. Even though I had only known his family for 2 weeks, it felt like a lifetime. His grandmother welcomed me with open arms when she met me. We had dinner and had gotten to know each other by the end of it. She absolutely loved me. Good to know that he has someone who cares about him. His sister was the closest person he had, she told me. He was out of the room and we were talking. Honestly, he helped me overcome my loneliness. You raised an amazing young man. I am so honored that he allowed me to meet you. Now I see where he gets his amazing sense of humor from, I had told her. I had now been at their house several times. I had also been part of his sister's child, Emil. He was close to a year old and was the most amazing bundle of energy. We often spent time with him to give his grandmother a break. But since we had not had a date night in ages, I decided to get us a babysitter. Everyone would get a night off. "Got it. Now go, or you will be late." The babysitter interrupted me from my thoughts. "Yes, babe. Get over here, we will be late," Kai shouted. I looked over at him and saw that he had the cutest pout on his face. "Coming," I said, as I closed the door and made my way to the car. "Thought you would never come," he said, as he pulled me in for a kiss. "Sorry, just wanted to make sure she knew how to take care of Emil," I said. "What did I do to deserve you?" He smiled. Conclusion. We continued to work on our relationship, with me supporting him as much as I could. His family became my family and helped fill the gap I had in my heart. It made me feel like I had a purpose and made life a lot more colorful. Kai ended up graduating with flying colors, and I was so proud of him. The end. Henry's love language is gifting. What is yours? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force and to stay wholesome.